It's 6:30. What? Call the meeting of the Manchester by the Sea Select Board to order. Jeff,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes,
and is here.
John, yes.
and I will call the finance committee meeting to order. Andy, Peter, Gar, Maury, and myself, Sarah.
Excellent. This meeting is being recorded in case anybody hasn't figured that out yet. Are there any public comments on non-agenda items?
Laptop.
Don't see.
Not signed into.
At this point, we should be starting the joint meeting.
John Croft, are you on Zoom? No, I saw John's iPad.
I'm here, yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
John Croft is on with us remotely.
Great. Really does say it's a presentation, so I guess we should wait for the presenters.
Yes.
Maybe some last minute edits.
I'm sure.
Well, she already sent that out.
The
Copier machine was going with a vengeance down there.
Copy machine, right.
Oh, maybe they're making copies.
She did say she'd provide copies,
That would be
Oh.
nice.
updated
Very
copies.
nice.
And there's a lot of pages in this thing.
That's, there are 78,
That is, yeah, I know, it was.
70, 76.
Yeah.
Copier was not happy.
I was 76. Yeah, I was trying to print the current page and apparently I printed the current workbook.
Oh.
dear. Oh, dear.
I would say put that into expenses, but.
Budget's a type. I'll send the town my charge for blue toner.
Oh, look at that stack.
Oh, goody.
She saved a sheet for you here. Right there. That's so long.
Remember high school?
Oh, look at this, it comes from Mets.
Yeah, the mimeograph.
Hey, all for you, is this a 5-minute meeting? Oh, thank you, yes, I'll take an update. This is warm. This is warm.
Thank you. That hallway was toasty down there, thanks to the copier.
Put page numbers in. Thank you.
They were the last, that's all right. I was very pleased. It's way, way in the.
Oh,
Number there.
oh,
Oh, your staple is finding it. Oh, I didn't see what came out this afternoon. Yeah, the old version. I read it all. I most of it, not all. I was busy printing what we got last week.
Something in 5.
so much easier to guess, but.
Oh, that's-
Straight up. Okay, we've started the meeting. We're waiting for enlightenment. So the thought is here remotely.
Okay.
Yes. What, could you give us a key to the little triangles in various colors?
Oh, the little red triangles, those are my notes.
The red ones and their dark ones.
Red ones and green.
Microsoft, so the,
Yeah, you would see that if you had the Excel spreadsheet open and you hovered over there with your mouse, a note would pop up explaining what that is.
and then the green ones are just formatting. It's trying to grab the number, like the FY 26 and 27 number. That's why the green shows up.
All right, just real quick, I just wanted to start, um. Just wanted to start with a little bit of kind of summary information, of the challenge that we've been facing with, I think, you know, in this initial draft. If you look at where, we start by looking at what our revenues are gonna look like for the upcoming fiscal year. If we compare our general fund revenues and our free cash revenues, for me, I like to split those into two different buckets. Because you're gonna use those revenues for different expenditures.
Mhm.
Your general fund revenues are gonna be for operational uses. They're generated in the same fiscal year as the budget that we're appropriating funds for, and generally is generated from local receipts, state aid, and your tax base. If you look at FY 26 compared to FY 27, we had 38.4 million in general fund revenue to 39.3 in FY 27. So that's about an increase of $829,000. Free cash, the other bucket of revenue, it's a one-time, you usually want to use free cash for one-time expenditures. Capital items, you can use it to build up reserves. You can use it to pay down debt if you wanted to. But you generally, you're not going to use your free cash revenues for your operating expenses. That's because it's actually generated from the previous fiscal year. So the fiscal year that we are in right now, at the end of this year, when we reconcile all of our numbers, the amount of funds that we bring in over our estimated revenues, combined with the amount of funds that we don't spend, you know, under our appropriate amount, get combined, certified, and then are available for use in a future fiscal year. It's actually, there's about a one fiscal year gap. So because that number fluctuates and then you can't really depend on it, you use it for one-time purchases. So we like to look at that for capital needs. You'll see here, compared to last year, we have a reduction in free cash revenues of about $588,000.
Why is that?
We've been trying to reduce the amount of free cash as a town, I believe, to be a little bit more tight on our estimated revenues, a little bit tight on our expenditures, so it has that effect.
And we had excess reserves, which we've been spending down.
I just thought
Yeah.
that if anybody else ever watches this, it might be interesting.
Yeah, and Tony, that's very helpful to me because I didn't understand that before you explained it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Looking at, this is now just a close-up on our general fund revenues of the upcoming, of this fiscal year 27. Broken down into different categories: available levy, local receipts, state aid, and local taxes. And on the right, these are the general fund challenges that we're facing this year. So our total without the use of available levy is 39.3 million. If
We
we,
don't see that up there.
you know,
What's going on?
Jody, if you stand up, where it says Manchester by, No, down,
Now to the right.
well, yeah. I-
Go for that.
Go,
I can
go,
help, I got it.
Okay, sorry, Manchester bot,
up,
right up here.
Yeah.
yep, up. There. And now,
Didn't do it.
yes, it made it much smaller. So we can see the whole screen.
That's the last time you asked for my house.
Remember, all right, never do a bad job well.
Set us up very well.
So our challenges this year are that our total budget, general fund budget requests amount to $40,081,628. But our total available to us, without the use of the levy is 39.3, and even with the use of the excess levy is 39.5. So even using the available levy, we still have about $500,000 in requests that exceed our available funds.
Does that include the full school budget?
Yes.
Okay.
It does. And this is free cash. This is just to show you a little bit of our free cash situation. Our free cash revenue on the left, $2.6 million. From that, we earmark or set aside about 2.4 million to reserves. That 2.4 million combines with what we have in stabilization to equal about 8% of our total budget to have in our reserve account. That leaves us $225,000 of free cash to use in the upcoming year.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Please.
Is it total budget or operating budget? Our target is supposed to be 8% of the operating budget, including the town
Whatever-
and the schools.
Whatever the,
So you're not
Yeah, I
including
did-
capital.
Yeah, I backed out the capital.
Okay, thank you.
correct. However, we received $31.5 million in requests for capital. Now, a significant amount of that, we will have to borrow and ask for an override. So if we reduce the capital requests that we reviewed and deferred to an override question, it comes down to 3.3 million.
Is this an override for capital exclusion?
It's a debt
Debt
exclusion.
Debt
Debt
exclusion.
exclusion, right.
There's quite a few projects in there.
Mhm.
And we'll talk through that tonight, but this is kind of a bigger picture.
But so far, we're not talking about an operational override.
Correct.
Okay,
This is just on the capital side. So, if we were to, reduce the amount that's available to us, if you take those requests and move them to borrowing or debt exclusions, you still have a total request of 3.3 million. And then some of those would be funded with alternative funding sources like the enterprise account, retained earnings, or the waterway funds. But still, at the end of the day, you have $2.2 million with only 225,000 available.
When you go to a debt exclusion and you drop it down dramatically, nevertheless, there's debt service associated with that. Now, does that get put back into your operating budget, or is that assumed to be expense in future years?
It would be put into our operating budget.
All right, so the operating budget is not static. As soon as you do that, whatever you're gonna do, there's a debt
No,
service.
Well, if we do a debt exclusion, it'll be added revenue coming into the general fund and then paying that debt service out of the general.
but
But
we don't
sometimes-
incur the debt until we've completed the project.
All right, so but don't worry about this year, because it's not, that's my question. All right, so the current budget is unaffected by whatever decisions are made.
Depends on how quick the project is.
We know how things work.
So I just want to kind of start the meeting off by explaining some of the challenges that Andrea and I have faced, but after receiving a lot of the requests. So we can go into the spreadsheet from here. The biggest cost drivers in our operational account this year would be the school budget, which is at a their tentative budget, their initial draft is about an 8% increase, which in dollars, Andrea, is
Right.
1.3 million. Another significant factor in our operating operating expenses is health insurance, which currently we've been advised by our provider to estimate a 20% increase. And Andrea, in dollars, do you know that off the top of your head? I know it's in,
Or find it.
360,000.
but it was in the 300, yeah, about 300. So school, health insurance, and then another factor that we're facing is our waste disposal and collection. We're estimating a significant increase from the disposal cost of recycling materials and the collection cost. Now, we've enjoyed a very healthy contract for the last 5 years. However, we expected, even without Republic having gone through a union strike, we expected those numbers to increase significantly. Add on the union contract negotiations that they went through. We haven't received numbers from them yet, but we're expecting a significant bump. Additionally, Republic has indicated to us that they would entertain an extension or a new contract with us. But manual collection, meaning someone is on the truck actually getting out, picking up the bag and putting it in the truck, they would really only entertain that for another year. They would, if we signed a long-term, a 5-year contract with them, we would have to convert to automatic collection, which is uniform barrels. Truck comes by, picks up the barrel and dumps it into the truck on its own. They would only allow us to keep manual collection for another year. So we're faced with that type of approach. We could go out to bid, we could see quotes from other companies. We're going through that process now. But most likely, any company we talk to is going to be looking for automated collection.
So the cost of the barrels with the, the town, with the, the homeowner to buy the barrel.
Depending on the format we want to go forward with, there are grants available to purchase barrels. However, DEP would only pay for trash barrels if they are the 35-gallon size. They won't pay for a 60-gallon size barrel. And they'll pay for the recycling barrels of any size as long as it's made from recyclable materials. So it is possible that the cost of the barrels could be fully funded if we follow those criteria.
60-gallon
Is
can and
Yeah, but-
an aging population.
But a 35-gallon barrel is not very big.
No, it's not.
They have good wheels.
They do.
Yeah,
The biggest challenge with waste is that if we don't have an enterprise account, so it's baked into our general fund. So as that contract drives up, it adds a demand on our larger expenses. So there are a couple of things that we could think about doing differently that would help move the account forward and save money. An enterprise account is an option. It's not included in this proposed budget because I think that takes a lot more discussion. The reason an enterprise account could be, or a pro of going to an enterprise account, is that you now have a fee structure that you can use to incentivize residents to compost or recycle, or less tonnage in the waste stream would produce savings for the town long term. Without an enterprise, you really don't have that incentive mechanism that you could institute to try to capture those savings.
Why is that true though? Because today people pay by the bag.
That's right.
Do the bags
And
go
we don't
away?
The bags,
Estimated collection,
that, I think that they
they
would.
go away. Well, but, I mean,
Because that's the whole driving force from the industry is that they don't wanna have, it's all time. So they don't wanna get out of the truck to have to pick up a bag.
Right.
It's all about being able to come in and
but
grab.
the family members I have that are in towns with automated collection, they still have to pay a fee per barrel every year. So they may not pay for the barrel, but instead of paying for an orange bag, they pay a fee per barrel. So if big families might want two and they pay extra for that. So there's still an incentive to,
But that is,
but,
so that's an enterprise though.
well, that's why I'm asking,
Yeah.
why does it have to be an enterprise if we don't? I'm hearing over here that it doesn't have to be, because today we have the bags and it's not an enterprise account, so I'm not understanding why
Because
we.
you wouldn't have, as a resident, if it wasn't an enterprise account, it would just be paid for through taxes. So you couldn't,
No, I
It's paid for with, I
We
mean,
get
part
fees.
by,
we just
Back.
collect the fees.
right, but the bags would go away with
Right.
automated collections. They
Correct.
don't
We have other
have-
fees. You have other fees.
I mean, just as an example, we have an enterprise fund for water and sewer, and we monkeyed around with the water rates. And frankly, it didn't change consumption much at all. So, I mean, I think enterprise fund or non, unless the rates go really crazy, the format of how you charge that is kind of, I think, sort of irrelevant, unless there's some tax implications here, but.
That's what I mean, you can't. For like to try to capture. Based on how much you use, if you do it by the amount of waste you produce. You can do it through the bags, which is outside of.
Yeah.
Your tax base, and that's that's a way to incentivize, but without the bags. And we're only collecting, we can't adjust your taxes based on how much trash you produce, so that's where the enterprise comes in.
You can charge a fee. You can charge a fee.
It goes into the general fund. It doesn't have to go into an enterprise fund.
Right, it's per barrel. It's not weighted, to your point. but
And
it's-
that way, if you have excess revenue from the fees you collect, it goes into the general fund rather than not being able only to be used for trash pickup.
Right,
That's the downside of enterprise funds, is it restricts your use of any excess earnings.
Is that fees per barrel picked up or just having a barrel?
How's it?
you would
I don't know, it's a bill.
institute a fee, you could institute a fee for the extra barrel. Let's say everybody gets one barrel. If you want a second one, you have to pay
Okay.
for that, and it could go in through the general fund. If you had an enterprise account and someone had two barrels, they could be charged a higher fee for that service compared to someone who has one. So you have to pay for the second barrel, plus you pay a higher rate.
so
That would be
that,
the
that,
incentive.
that should be done with,
Without an enterprise fund. Yeah.
Right, and I think it's important, we don't have to beat it to death tonight, but one of the reasons why it's important is you have to remember there are those of us who do not use town trash. Okay, because we have private trash pickup per our special permits for our multifamily housing, right, or
Yep.
restaurants or whatever.
Right.
So there has to be some type of fee for the people who have barrels. Otherwise, you're taxing people who can't take advantage of the service.
Yeah, but you already are paying taxes. You're being paid taxes if you're having recycling picked up privately.
Yes, but not the trash. So we get the recycling, but
But you're
trash
not
is,
paying
it's,
that.
trash is a big deal right now.
It is.
Yeah,
So-
it really is.
another side of it is there are people who actually do compost now heavily and don't put out a barrel every day, every
Right,
week.
exactly.
So.
Right.
That's the wrong incentive, because if I have a barrel and I don't have to sort my garbage, I'm just gonna put it in a barrel.
And I think the other thing you have to remember is that local taxes are deductible on federal returns again, and fees are not. So the more you add on fees, the greater adverse impact it has on anybody who's,
Household consumer.
yeah.
Well, I'm not proposing, moving to an enterprise account at this moment. But there's different, I bring it up because it's one of those things that as the cost of waste disposal, recycling disposal goes up, and sits within the general fund, it adds a burden to the remaining amount of general fund that we have for all our other needs. An enterprise would be able to shift some of those funds. You'd collect some of the costs through a fee structure. You could supplement some of that with the general fund too. It would help reduce the burden that we have in the general fund. It's still a cost. It would be an increased cost to the residents. But it's an alternative thing that we can explore further. But I do think that no matter whether it's an enterprise or not, we're going to be forced to go to uniform barrels in the next years.
Have we looked for alternate suppliers? Black Earth had expressed an interest in picking up trash and recycling.
I spoke with Black Earth. Quite frankly, I don't think they have a sense of what it would take to do that type of collection, and then deliver it to the MRF or Wheelabrator. But I asked them to put together a business plan
Yes,
for us
good.
that we could evaluate. And I think they may be working on that.
They're a bigger concern than is apparent. Because they go down into Rhode Island, up into New Hampshire. Yeah, and
So I asked them to put together a
Good.
proposal that we could evaluate, but what we did for this budget
Mhm.
was we spoke with the Northeast Regional Director under, at DEP,
Mhm.
who had a wide range of rates that municipalities in this area are paying for hauling, for collection. We also talked to a couple of neighboring, or Chuck spoke with a few neighboring communities to get some sense of what that increase might look like. And when we get to the DPW, you'll see that we have a significant increase in their budget because of those added costs.
I think that what's important right now is for you to, do the competitive bid, do whatever you can to find us the most economical approach. And then the mechanics of whether it's enterprise or not enterprise, I'd like
Comes later.
FinCom will help us figure that out, but I'm just more worried about that.
Backing off a little bit further, we're right now not worrying about
Right.
contracts so much.
Yeah.
I think it's very wise to put in some more money, just in case things don't go the way one might hope.
And aren't I correct, the contract with Wheelabrator is separate from
Yes,
the disposal and longer term?
it is separate. I don't know how long the term is.
It was a long-term deal, but I could be wrong. Right,
But
like for 40 years or something like that.
Oh, I don't know about that. It's,
It's
the-
nothing that long.
that's why the increased costs are expected in the hauling and in the recycling.
Yep.
Not really in disposal of waste.
so one question just for Andrea. Do the bags cover the disposal cost, or are we running a deficit on that? And like roughly what, is it like 20%?
The disposal piece,
Disposal fees.
because
The-
we get 300,000 from bags,
We
right?
do.
And the disposal is
So-
running.
No,
200
I'm
on
not
that.
gonna- We got a lot to talk about tonight. I'm not sure we're gonna spend
Yeah.
This is what I'm like-
the whole night's conversation on just this one.
Too much.
Just covers disposal.
Can I ask, Andrea, our town administrator tell us there are three big areas where we've got large increases: school, health insurance, and waste disposal. But I never did get the number for waste disposal. Can you tell me what the increase that we have in our proposed budget for waste disposal is? Thank you.
All right, can we move on to a different subject and kind of go through whatever, you had another, do you have more slides in your overview, Tony?
No, I just
Okay.
wanted to, initiate the discussion with kind of looking at the bigger picture of the challenges that we're facing and talk about some of those specifically in the school and trash and then we can get into the slideshow that's in front of you.
So if we're just additional high level considerations,
before we get into the details, because one of the things I did when I was looking at the budget was try to think about the conversations we've been having over the past year. You know, what would we do differently? And I think one of the things I'm concerned about is trying to reduce the tax burden that we have to subsidize optional services. So we have services we provide to residents, they are optional, but we don't ask them to pay a fee at all. Examples of that are the notary service, we subsidize the electric charging out here. Those are just two examples that came to my mind. I don't think we need to do that anymore. And I know I'm probably talking pennies, but at this point, I think we need to look at the nickels and dimes. You know, we shouldn't be subsidizing optional services. And I'd like us to get out of that. Personally, I'd like us to get out of that business as much as possible.
My nephew was here, he's from Pennsylvania, and he said that what we're charging at those charging stations is ridiculously low.
I have an electric car, but it's free for 2 hours. I'm just asking to get rid of the free.
He's saying even the hourly
That
rate
is true.
is, I
It
think
is
it's
true.
at 2 cents. Or
It's $1 an hour. It's
Okay,
$1.
I don't know what it was. He said it could be 5 times that amount.
But I'm just saying, we are subsidizing certain things with tax dollars, and I think we need to stop. That was one item. And then there are some services that we have here where the select board has made some decisions over the past couple of years to do things a little differently. And because the numbers are spread on like 4 different slides or something, it's hard to tell if the decisions we made were good decisions or not. One example is, you know, we talk a lot about parking. So now we implemented the safety sticks. I would like on one slide, okay, parking enforcement officers, the safety, the parking sticks, the revenue we collect, the you know, all on one slide, okay, just to see, are these things working or not? And then you assess the trends over time, because the trending can tell you if you're headed in a bad direction and might need to change. So parking was one example. The inspections, you know, where we've increased the fees. Okay, what was the result? It's hard to tell. And the other thing was, you know, the beach parking and the passes. Every year people ask about that. I can't tell from these numbers. I think on one of the slides, it was a significant dip in revenue one year. And I'm like, did we do something to cause a loss of revenue? I don't know. I'd love the numbers for that service on one slide. So like kind of an activity-based cost view, even though we can't, you know, budget using activity-based costing, if we could at least have a view of those services that take in revenue other than tax dollars, we can see if we've made good decisions or not.
Just want to remind you, parking sticks weren't meant to be a revenue generator.
Right.
It was meant to turn over parking, which I think we decided and it's working now.
It is, but you also have to, whenever you do something, you should always look at the cost implication, because we haven't reduced the number of parking enforcement officers. We've asked them to.
We're expanding.
That's right, but I'm just saying, it's always good to validate the decisions that we made. Were they good decisions or not? That's all I'm
And I just
suggesting.
want to remind you that as far as beach parking, that's all weather related. It's a couple of years ago, then.
Well, it was a few years ago, we also, you know, changed the whole model, and I never feel like, I didn't feel like we got a good overview of the decision that we made to not charge for beach parking, you know, just give every resident a sticker. Did we lose resident revenue? Did we gain revenue? We just never looked at it in its holistic form, and I just think that's a business practice. We should do that.
I think we can, oh, sorry.
Yeah, that was also, there was also
Other
an
reasons-
operating cost.
There was an efficiency in the town clerk's office. That's why we did that. But if you told me that they gained, you know, $10,000 worth of efficiency over 2 months and we lost $30,000 of revenue, I'd be upset with that. The numbers could be reversed. They could be totally different. I have no idea because we never looked at it.
We're paying a lot more for the outsourcing than we ever would have paid for the hours in the town clerk's office.
That's what I'm concerned. We made a decision for efficiency in the town clerk's office and did not look at the whole. And we should do that. Okay, and I just think it's a good business practice to do that.
I think we could probably.
It should be
pull
pretty simple. It
Pull
should,
that stuff together. I'll regroup with you, Kathy, and
Yeah.
find out, maybe like which departments or areas we want to focus on first, and then we can have a more in-depth conversation. Once we
yeah,
pull
I have a list, I'll send it to you, but I brought it up because others may have ideas of things that, decisions that were made before I was on the board, I haven't been on the board forever. Maybe there were things we also did decide, and we didn't look at the impact, financially, and I just think we're at the point where we gotta do that. That was-
And Tony, maybe an idea is in the past, the FinCom has done some benchmarking of different things, but it tends to be more on like a request from the Board of Selectmen or something. Like, for example, a number of years ago, we did a pretty deep dive on the fire department, looking at all sorts of different fees. But I'm wondering, going up a bit, do you folks, or have you got a list of benchmarking we've done? And it might be appropriate at some point just to create a spreadsheet as a checklist. Like, when was the last time the town did some benchmarking on trash fees and harbor fees and inspection gas meter fees and stuff like that? And that way, when, we start looking at revenue, we can go across the board and say, we haven't actually looked at this fee structure for 10 years. Call up all our neighboring towns and say, what do you guys charge for gas meter inspection? Hey, we're low,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We
But
raised the
it's-
fees, but it was kind of like, what can we get? As opposed to
No.
doing a real benchmarking.
Where are
Yeah.
we relative to our neighbors?
Absolutely. Makes total sense.
So just writing that down, I think that is an excellent suggestion, and I think the finance committee would be extremely helpful in us developing some of that out.
I elect more.
Just walked right into that one, didn't we? Said that before.
Well,
We
that's always
appreciate it
something
very
that, that's always
Yeah.
something off.
Yeah.
When we're not
Yeah, it's
focused on
hard to
town
hear,
meeting,
but-
yeah, when we have the time to go through that, it's a good exercise. to go through. And I think especially when you layer in the fee structure there, if there are recommendations that come out of that exercise.
Mhm.
The fee schedule is voted on by the select board. So going through that with the finance committee and coming up with a recommendation that's then elevated to the select board, I think makes a lot of sense as far as process.
And it almost needs to be a requirement of department heads. The ZBA increased its fees a few years ago to $1,000 an application, and none of the other land use boards followed along in that suit, and we received 0 complaints.
Yeah, that's a lot of my notes. I
It was like 280.
Did we increase the fees? What was it? That's like half the notes I got.
Can I raise a concern about this budget book?
Yes.
I'm concerned that the full school budget is not included. I'm concerned that this is understating what the potential costs are for this year. And I believe if you include the additional 525 for the school that's not included, that you're getting towards the need for a general override. And I think that's important to have in the budget book from day one, with the hope that it can be whittled away at. But I just think for transparency to the taxpayers, we need to have that full number in there.
So
Because the
we're-
school,
we're
it was,
trying to show
it's not,
a little bit
It is in
different,
there, and
a little bit.
it's not in the far right column.
it's a separate column. Tony added his
So
recommendation, yes.
we did it a little bit different this year. Is that we're showing what was requested and how that's different from the previous fiscal year. And then we're showing what the town administrator's budget is recommending and how that's different from the previous fiscal year and how that compares to the request. So what you want to look at
I mean, you're saying that the TA request is $526,000 less than what the school department
Right, in
requested.
the column to,
And it's not included in the total tax numbers at the end. The 526 is not included in the numbers. When the tax rate's calculated.
right,
Right.
right.
And I have a problem with that. I think that to ignore it is not appropriate.
No, it's certainly not ignoring it. What I felt my mission was to deliver to you tonight was a balanced budget. And with that number, it is unbalanced. So I wanted to show both. I wanted to show what the request came in and how that resulted in an unbalanced budget. And then how I made changes to those requests in order to get to a balanced budget.
Right.
And a significant element of that is a 3% increase on the school total compared to their
Seven or eight.
7.9.
Yeah.
Right, and I think, I like the fact that you added your own recommendation so we can see what people ask for. I think what Sarah's getting at, which is valid, is the school numbers are not ours.
We have no control.
We have no control, so I agree with you. We should go at them and try and help them find that 500K. Sarah's point is, we have absolutely,
And this budget
I'm
book
sorry,
is showing,
750, excuse me.
this budget book's only showing a 1.9% increase in the tax rate.
And so it's on both.
Well, it's not presented well.
No,
I'm sorry.
I agree. No, I agree.
I mean,
That's the one number, like I
you
like.
can't have it piecemeal like this because we always go off the total budget and say to the taxpayers, this is the expected increase in your tax rate. And I can't do it from this budget.
Well, I think we're not done yet. This is the beginning of the process.
But this is a format. This is a format.
Right,
And that's my concern.
For that one particular item, I think that's a valid argument. It's not in our control at all. But the others are in our control. You know, the people at this table, we can make a decision what we put forth to the taxpayers, but that's the one number we don't control.
Thank you.
There.
Another lever, I guess I would say that we could potentially consider that we talked about at the finance committee meeting was attempting to fully fund OPEB in the upcoming year. And that could, if we do that through an override, that would provide some relief to the general fund. That could allow us to, you know, stay balanced with the other needs. So there's, at this point where we are, there's still a lot of, I guess, changes that can be made to help us get to that balanced budget without necessarily going for an override. But wanted to, you know, really kind of showcase the challenge that we're facing.
I think that we'll all work together to avoid that override. You know, we'll all, you know, look at this and come forth with our ideas. And, you know, I would suggest that because this is such a difficult year, you know, usually we do this meeting and then we have another joint meeting when we're ready to print the warrant, right? I don't think that's enough. I think, you know, each FinCom does a deep dive, right? And they do it every week on a different section. At every select board meeting, Tony, you gotta come to us and I think we're gonna look at the numbers. What is FinCom recommending? Are they recommending cuts? Do we want to recommend additional changes? And have those discussions along the way, rather than wait till the very end. I think that would be helpful. And the only other thing at a high level I forgot to mention, as part of any budget review I've ever done in my life, there's always a head count slide. You know, we need to have that.
I think
Not
that
surprised it's
this,
last year.
in 2025, we did release the FinCom minutes on a weekly basis. So that will be a help in 2026.
But Tom, I mean, I assume
It's the
Tom's
actual
going to the
votes we
FinCom
take.
meetings and he can help us with the dialogue as well, yeah. Not asking you guys to show up at every select board meeting.
Or us to show up at every.
Or us to show up at every site, right?
As it is, it doesn't sound like we're getting a raise, so I don't know.
Oh, you didn't see mine?
25%, right on.
There you
You
go.
got a cut this year.
I will say that Andrea and I, went through the entire budget, line by line. Looking at a 5-year look back and looking at trends and how each line, has adjusted from year to year based on the, budgeted amount and the actual spent amount. And tried to find areas that we could adjust. And I can tell you, it was very difficult. There
It
were,
always is.
I think Andrew was laughing at me when I was finding like a $50 reduction.
That's okay.
But those,
Need the pennies.
we did go through that exercise as best we could.
It is, and this is your first budget review with us, and that's why I sent you guys a note over the weekend. It's very obvious you went through every single line item. So don't take our questions and my questions as anything other than thank you. But, I have a different type of experience. I'll look at them a little differently and I might come up with something that you and consider. Everybody here has a different background. We might, just have a thought, but you guys, it's very obvious you went through every single line item, very obvious.
And I think it's just important to say that here in a public meeting, especially when we're talking about school budget, that's, we're asking them to do the same thing, right?
Right.
So it's important that we look internally as well, through that with that process. Okay, so how would you like to go through these slides?
One at a time. Let's
We're not
start
gonna
with
go
the
through
summary.
the whole thing. are
I
we?
think in order to get through the presentation, what I think we've done in the past is any questions on, so we just voice our questions or concerns. We don't deliberate at the meeting, but you guys collect the information so that when FinCom does a deep dive, they take our feedback or questions into consideration.
I think it would be helpful to go through the summary of the expenses.
Yeah.
And have a brief discussion on the ones where the percentages are high.
And just right before that, on that first slide, revenue, so to highlight local receipts. So this is something that I'll be discussing with the select board. We are looking at increasing the inspectional services department fees. In order to, come up to, I guess, our comparable towns' rates. And it also satisfies, when in speaking with Paul Orlando, the rates have always been set to account for the cost of the service. One thing that we've been talking a lot about is currently the assistant in inspectional services is also the assistant to the town assessor. And one thing we've been talking about is having an assistant that's purely dedicated to inspectional services. We have a lot of inspections, a lot of applications coming through. And we've also talked about trying to come up with a way to help streamline the process for those for permitting. Having a one-stop shop where potential developers or property owners or businesses can come and say, here's the property, here's what I'm looking to do. Who do I need to go talk to? Concom, ZBA, planning board, all those things, and help kind of streamline that to improve our efficiency and, friendliness to the consumer. A lot of the feedback I've gotten in the short time I've been here is that it's not clear exactly what a property owner or who a property owner is gonna have to speak to. So as they go through the process, they may get a building permit, start construction, and then they have to deal with an asbestos thing with, the health department, or, when do they have to go to Concom in that process, or ZBA? So trying to kind of find a way to streamline that. So this increase in receipts would pay for the increased cost in an assistant that would be purely for inspectional services department versus split between ISD and the assessors.
And that's the bill of goods we were sold when they added a land use clerk. That the land use clerk was supposed to be doing that. But the problem is they're over in Seaside One. They're not in the main building where people come. And so we lost all of that. We're not getting. We were getting all of the questions up front from clients on the ZBA stuff, and we're not getting any of that anymore. And the land use, the theory behind that hiring of the land use clerk was to put everything under one, and that one person would determine what various boards a person needed to go to. And so it sounds to me like we're trying to make that argument again. And my question is how much more money is it costing us to have the land use clerk than the prior system? And what's been the benefit of
Or
it?
should the building inspections be under land use?
It was supposed to be.
Right, so I think, again, we don't need to deliberate, but that's a good example of us needing to validate a prior decision.
Right.
And also, you know, we all want one-stop shopping, but apparently we tried and failed or haven't got there yet. So.
Well, I
something to look at,
wasn't,
Something to go look at.
I wasn't around when
Right.
that bill of goods
Yeah.
was stolen. I don't know how vetted that was at the time.
Take a note, move on to the next one. That's a good one to take a note on. What page are we on, I might ask?
That was page 2.
CPA rough,
So that, we don't have their, they're still going through their application process.
So it's
that
incomplete.
25,000 is just representative of their typical administrative costs. That number will go up once they review their applications and submit their proposals to us.
And that doesn't impact the overall budget.
No, there's
because that's
no-
all completely outside.
There's no entry on expense or on revenue. It's
Yeah.
just zero.
okay, okay,
But
My
it affects with the bill that people get it when they get their tax bill. It's in there as a separate line item.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
But the
a,
actual it's just a wash on her system.
It is.
okay,
Okay.
but certainly the revenue page would look a lot different if there was a realistic estimate.
Correct.
Right.
So
So the
what should
expense.
we try to cut the expenses to make up for not having a good number?
Should we put in $900,000 there and just say, that's what. it
What
was
is
in
the,
past?
what, yeah,
We
what
have
is
to
the
have-
Put in
ballpark?
I can put in last year's
In a
amount, so we
ballpark,
can change the.
But we're not gonna have that much
percentages.
this year because
Right.
they spent their money last year. They only get in 500 a year.
But that's a lot more than
Whatever it
25.
is,
Then
let's
put in
plug in
500.
let's plug in a placeholder.
we can
Move on.
put in what their expected budget is for the
Yeah.
upcoming year.
So we're on page 2. Are we done with page 2? Or-
Yep.
Are we on to page 3?
Sure.
Moving right along.
There we go.
I'm sorry,
Oh, we're done.
the available funds, that's the difference in the reserves. That
Yes.
31% drop,
Yes.
okay. Available reserves, I should say.
Sorry.
That was 2 pages ago. We're moving on.
I think, you know, the front pages, they're all summary, the details of where where my questions
But-
are, I don't know.
If there are problems with a summary,
Yeah, that's,
are there any questions on the expenditure page?
Yeah, all of the ones that general government, why to go up 12.11%.
Right.
Okay,
And we
so-
get into that in the details.
So we obviously
Yeah.
want to look at general government.
And public safety went up 8.7%.
Mhm.
Public works is up 6.9%. And parks and rec is up over 9%.
So, public safety, I can speak to, off the top of my head, because we, actually Kathy asked the question earlier, so thank you, Kathy.
What page is that in detail?
You want to wait and talk about that when we get to
Yeah.
the detail page?
I think these are just holds,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, let's
Just
do
hold
holes
items.
and let's get to the details.
Okay.
because there are 4 or 5 holds.
Okay.
Alright.
North Shore Ag, is that
Are
a
we,
true
what, I'm
number?
sorry, what page are we on still?
Yeah.
I'm on the summary page. I'm going highlighting the ones.
Page 3.
I wasn't sure if you're on budget or revenue summary. There's two, your page 3.
Yeah,
Okay.
North Shore Ag, is that a true number or is
Yeah,
that
that's-
just a guess?
That's the
Again.
number.
That's the number, okay,
Yeah. Yeah, it will be.
It will be.
based on the number of students.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And the capital improvements, I mean, that can be anything from year to year. And that's dropped a lot here. Is that to say that's what it's gonna be, or are we gonna pave some more roads or what?
It's
Uh,
whether it's out of taxation or something.
Yeah.
I mean, we, don't forget that for the past few years, we used a lot of ARPA funds to pay for, public works infrastructure. That was off the books.
That's all gone now.
Didn't flow through the budget
Yeah.
and that's
All gone.
spent. It was like 4 million, something we got from ARPA.
And what's that acronym for?
American
Rescue.
Rescue Plan Act.
COVID stuff.
So we need another transaction.
Thank you, thank you.
Anything else on page 3?
Let's start that one.
All right, so that's ARPA driven activity.
Well, all I'm saying is we've been spending over the past years since COVID, we upped our capital budget. And a lot of the capital work done was funded with ARPA, money,
Understood.
which we no longer have. Which impacts the amount of work that can be done. Didn't actually flow through the budget, but it gave us more money.
And better streets.
Mhm. Nice sidewalks.
No waiting on my street.
All right.
Anything.
Anything else on page 3?
I'm used to it.
Any other question?
Those sidewalks are good.
So on page 3, are we just sort of generally flagging general government, public safety, public works and parks and rec? I mean, those are the numbers that have the big
Percentage.
jumps.
Yeah.
We might talk a little bit about debt service.
Yeah.
And just what projects you're issuing the bans on that raises that budget, just so people know which projects they are.
We're on to revenue?
Yep.
Okay. Get past that page.
Anything on page 4? Once gone twice.
Let's go to page 6 and 3.
Why is, oh God, I can't. Why is the permits in green?
That's, I changed it from the last version of this. That's why it's green. So we added, so
Andrea sent a new version out today. That we adjusted that local receipt, so she's just pointing it out that a different number from what you got Friday.
Are you on page 5?
That's page
Yeah.
5.
Okay.
Yep.
So page 5, I had a question on line item 15, and that we already talked about it, though. It's the beach passes and stuff like that. The question I had was, actually, there was such a dip in you know, the collections, the actuals, but we already talked about that. It would be nice to have a view on that. The other thing, not for a budget discussion, but for a select board discussion, the number 5, the short-term rental excise tax. If we are collecting, you know, $46,000 on the tiny amount of short-term rentals we have, and we are planning to change the definition, we ought to get on that, because we're leaving money on the table here. And so it's not for the, you know, for everybody to bake into the budget right this second, but if we get on that and just change the number of days, we could see as, some good revenue come in there.
So that's something that I have on the list as a potential article in a separate sheet of mine,
Okay.
because we talked about that at a select board
Yeah.
meeting, just changing that definition.
Exactly.
However, I don't think we'd be able to increase the revenue on this projection yet.
Not on the, right, but I'm just saying, I know we've talked about it, but seeing these numbers put a different sense of urgency on it for me.
Sure.
So I'm
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
let's get on it.
And I think what you gotta remember with this number is this is the money we're receiving from the state. And it's not necessarily tied to the applications that you approve.
But what
Because
is
it's
it?
being a pass through from Airbnb and VRBO and those entities, they have to pass it through.
Mhm.
But I think if you look at the number of places where you've approved a short-term rental, it doesn't bear any correlation to the amount.
That's why I want to take a look at this, because we need to take a look at it, understand what we're collecting and see what we can do about it, because we know there are more out there than we,
Right.
But if it comes from
Right.
the rental company,
that's true, then we
Then-
might not.
we might
see
not.
it. Right.
No, but if, a larger in-depth discussion and potential change to how we handle
Right.
or
Mhm.
manage short-term rentals.
Right.
Could generate additional revenue,
Yep.
and it will likely also generate additional expense with
Probably, yep.
inspections.
Yep.
Between inspector, between the fire department, between.
Which could be fee-based,
Mhm.
Fee-based, yep,
right? More revenue.
exactly, yeah, that could be a big change in.
That was. So the other question I had was this increase you just said today on the licenses and permits, the 536. Is that a result of the increased projected inspectional fees you were talking about? Okay.
Yep, $1 per thousand is estimated to bring in anywhere from $30,000 to $45,000.
Nice.
So we went on the low side on the estimate and are proposing a $2 increase
Excellent.
to hopefully bring in 60.
Sounds good.
Any other questions on page 5?
Are we requiring, everyone who takes minutes now to use the AI function?
No, but most are.
Okay.
You've been promoting it.
I've been pushing it, but not everyone's doing that.
Because I think that it is saving a lot of time.
Oh my God, it saves a ton of time.
Tony, as we get into collective bargaining and so forth, into compensation, where are we on collective bargaining of various unions?
So I've had initial meeting with the fire department and the clerical union. After first week of January, I'll be having my first meeting with the DPW. I've asked them to expect that we won't be meeting again until mid-January. Mostly because we're waiting on information from Maya on potential health plan structures that we can put on the table. And until we get that information, it's really hard to.
So as you developed this draft, no adjustments in compensation have been, no union adjustments are made.
In this draft, you'll have year 3 of the police contract. They're on a different schedule. And then for the others, we have a 2.5% increase baked in here.
Baked in.
Yep.
I want to go back to Sarah's comment about AI. I'm trying to think how we can make AI pay for us. And if AI is used across all of the minutes for everything that's going on? I don't know what we budget for clerical support for all of our committees, but can that somehow affect the number of hours that are involved there?
Definitely,
Yes.
Is that something that we thought about?
definitely.
Is that in here at all?
No, you won't see that in here.
It's an efficiency, not a cost
Right.
savings.
Well, it's a cost
It's
savings.
cost
if
savings.
it's-
Less
If you
hours.
actually allow them to.
It's the
charge-
salaries of the admin people.
Yeah.
Yes, if you.
It's
actually
your
allow them
hourly.
They're hourly.
So we avoid overtime?
Yeah.
No,
No.
you don't, you pay them for fewer hours.
Okay,
Right, yes.
okay.
But there's a floor, right? What's the floor?
No.
There's no floor?
What do you mean by?
So like, let's say we got rid of 75% of the clerical hours. Can I take a person who works 35 hours a week and take them down to, no,
I'm talking about the part-time ones.
Yeah.
that's what I'm getting at. So that's what I'm getting at.
It's the part-time ones.
I agree with you, but I
and That's the
suspect that
majority
we,
of the minute takers.
Yeah.
I agree, but I suspect, I thought there were some full-time people who also did minutes back.
The full-
Maybe that's not true.
So with the hiring of the new land use clerk,
Yeah, they're doing minutes.
I pushed more committee minutes under that job description, and they're utilizing AI to take up less of their time, which pulled hours away from some of the part-time folks. And I think it's very minimal now, because CPC pays for that administrative cost outside of the general fund.
But there's no reason why you
Okay.
can't, to John's point, make it a requirement. I mean, we eased it in over the past, year and a half or whatever. And, time to take off the gloves and say, hey, this is a tool, we need you to use it.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Until we actually, yeah.
I mean, Debbie she worked out the bugs and picked the software and.
There's consistency across all
Right.
platforms as well.
And I think it means they don't have to attend the meetings if they're using
Yeah.
the AI.
Yeah,
And that's
just-
the big difference.
They don't have.
They don't have to, right?
Right.
That's ours.
Yeah.
That's ours.
can
And
just
they
look at
have the
recording.
recordings,
Right. they
Yep.
have the
if there's some question about who's saying what.
Right.
Right.
So now we're
It's pretty
taking,
accurate.
if somebody,
Well, they got you backwards.
if an admin attended a 2-hour meeting and then spent an hour writing the minutes.
Right.
The recording goes into the AI software and produces minutes in five minutes.
Right.
And then that draft is sent to the chairperson for
Right.
review.
Yeah.
So
You
we've
just saved 2 hours.
we've been moving towards that. That not all committees are doing it yet, but
So the other thing too is if you let
That's
us
better.
know, I mean, I know the committees that I'm on, I think they're all using it, but maybe one not, but I'll ask, I mean, we can all as liaisons ask the folks. The committees we attend, are you using it or not? And we'll just say, hey,
The committees probably don't know.
oh, they do. They do. Because a lot of the advisory committees, they do their own minutes, they take turns.
Oh.
So it may not be
But
the
they're not
board, it's
paying
the elected.
for-
you
They're
know,
not
that kind
paying a part-time person to write their minutes.
No.
They're
Correct,
doing
that's
their own
of-
software.
That's true.
And
we
we were
might-
targeting the committees that were
Stuff like
paying a
that, yes.
part-time.
Yeah.
But using AI rather than somebody's recollection of a meeting will give us better minutes from the
Right.
lesser.
Correct.
So it's important to lean on them too.
Yes, agreed.
Not just.
So that's, the bottom line is that's not reflected right now.
No.
Well, I think we need to keep that in mind.
I'm a little worried about Kathy's. We've got to know what we're doing and what effect it has. We shouldn't assume that we're going to save a lot on clerical people because of AI until we see it happening.
Yeah, that big push. It's really only a few months old that we've really been pushing, the use of AI and shifting some of that part-time work to the land use clerk. That's only been, because I definitely didn't do it when I first met everyone. It was like a month or two later that I said, we really should do this a little bit different.
I think
So it's only
the,
been a few months. So
yeah, I think the finance committee meetings are now being done with AI.
I don't know.
I believe so.
It's
Should
definitely a
ask the
format
chair.
change.
Yeah.
And we're
What?
Tone change.
Ask the chair.
So I think I would like to, before reflecting that in here.
That's
I'd
all
like
on the
to see
back
More
page.
than a few months of impact.
Can I ask a process question? Are we gonna go through every slide in this manner tonight, or are we?
I think we're on page 7.
Okay.
Trying to get all the questions.
I've got-
No, I get it, but
Yeah, we've got a-
we should
we've
be
got a
done
list.
by the time you're finished on.
We're an hour in.
We've got
I
a
gotta
list
go to
of,
work.
It's my first time going through this one. I'm actually leaning on you guys to help.
It's
me
usually a
understand what
really-
the-
Okay, we're done.
we've got a list of 5 areas
A real
that
summary.
we have concerns about.
Right.
And I suggest that we
Just look at them.
get through all of the summaries, just so that we know where we are, at least
Okay.
generally. And then go to general government, public safety, public works, parks and rec. I've written down debt service. I don't think there's much to talk about.
All right, that helps. Thank
And
you.
we can't sort out beach passes from this.
And is the pensions a good number?
It is.
Okay, that's fine.
How are we doing on pensions?
Not well, according to this.
It went up 11.44%, which is a lot higher than we have been. Usually always like, estimated about an 8% increase, and it's come in about 6. So this is twice as much. I know that they just went through like a thorough review and audit. So I believe that's probably.
Okay, so it's, if I understand correctly, our pensions are like the OPEB, which is to say we are paying for the years when we didn't pay in enough. Is there a date when we're likely to?
Keeps
Change
changing.
on that. Yeah, it keeps changing, but it's like early 30s, 2030s.
10 years ago?
So 6 years from now.
Yes.
Originally
That's
it
the
was
hope.
7 years, and that was about 6 years ago.
Every 2 years it
Run the
updates on
metric
how long.
system, yeah.
Okay. Anything else on expense summaries? This goes on to page. Thirteen.
Well. Well, there's no percentages on the pages like 6 and 7, so we kind of highlighted the general government is up 12.11%, but now we get into 6 and 7, which is a more exploded,
Mhm.
and there's no percentages.
Mm.
So it's hard to know what we were questioning.
Some of the larger increases, if you look at the FY 26 to 27 change.
Mhm.
Preparatory pensions, that's up $112,000, which is 11.44% compared to the previous year. Health insurance, we plugged in 20%, that's a $660,000 change from last year. That's the majority of the change.
Okay.
We did increase the legal professional services a little bit because we talked about how we just had like a really high level over the years between like the 40B project and
Yeah.
the Central Street culvert and like some of these ongoing issues. We've just run really, really high, and we've always run into budget issues at the end of the year with that line. So we're trying to make it like kind of true to what we've been spending.
Okay, and you knocked $65,000 off of what was asked for.
Well, it was a $65,000 change, and then Tony knocked it down about $5,000. What that last column is.
Okay, all right.
I'm just curious, town hall expenses, not a big number, but it is 20%. What's going on?
Electricity.
Oh, all right.
That's what I was pushing on earlier, you know, how much of that is what we're subsidizing for different things. Oh, the other thing I didn't mention too, in some of the areas and the details, I saw that the budgeting for gasoline costs was up in some areas and down in others. Gas prices have been going down, so I was curious as to why in some areas,
Where,
in all areas, they weren't.
where has gas been going down?
Well, I'm
Talking
looking at,
natural gas or?
I'm sorry,
Gasoline.
car, fuel for the cars.
Well, not here in town.
Well, gas,
In
but
town,
like diesel fuel for trucks is not. So,
Actually, the DPW numbers went down, but police and fire, I think, went up. So it was just something to go look at. I would expect, you know, some macroeconomic conditions to figure into the budgeting. I was curious that something went up and some went down.
All the hybrids now.
No.
We had 2 electrics and regular gas.
Yeah, I thought I heard that even the cruises were at least hybrids.
I don't think we had.
it's only 2 cars.
I.
Anyway, it was just something since you mentioned electricity.
When it comes to natural gas and electricity, one of the things that we are pushing for in this budget is we created a utility reserve account under Andrea's account. Because of every request kind of came in differently because it's so hard to predict what the rates are gonna be and how cold it's gonna be and how that's gonna adjust. We tried to level the budgets in each individual department. And if they need more at the end of the year, if they've used their entire utility budget line and they have additional bills, they come to Andrea and Andrea would pay that bill out of the utility reserve.
Why didn't we just move all of the utilities into her budget?
I assumed because typically towns like to see what a full cost implication is for a department.
Yeah.
So we just shifted kind of like that, those peaks, those potential peaks is what we shifted.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Why are we setting up a separate account for utilities rather than adding to the finance committee reserve?
Well, those have to be paid on a monthly basis, so we didn't want to have to deal with going to the finance committee to get a reserve fund transfer for something like that. And it's not really an unexpected, I guess it's an unexpected.
Does it increase the total utility budget?
Most likely, I have to add up all of them.
No, but your reserve, is that coming out of excesses in departments, so the overall utility budget's not higher, including the reserve?
No, I think,
From what's requested.
I think the overall is more. What we did was shaved the request. So departments were asking to increase their individual utility lines. We tried to limit that and put it in a utility reserve under Andrea's account. Because your line items are voted by salary and expense, right? So even though it's in that line item, at the end of the year, it can be used for other expenses. And we really felt like it was important to have a little bit more control over the
Yeah.
adding of a utility line.
The only thing I'm reacting to is you're now creating a separate pool. So we can no longer tell whether that line item is increasing or not. That's why I was asking is, in order to create her pool, did you take it out of requests from existing departments so the overall budget's no higher than it was before? That's what I'm asking.
We'll do that analysis for you,
Okay.
so you can.
Okay,
see.
yeah,
Our goal was to limit increases in individual budgets and
Right.
put it in one single.
Right, you don't want them using that as a management reserve. They have
Right.
management reserve on them.
Right.
So sure.
Exactly.
My concern is that having looked a bit at the Essex budget, they have lots of little pockets of money.
right.
And each of them is for something special. And you can't spend it on anything else. And I don't mind having a fire engine bucket. but I'm not real pleased about having other separate buckets.
I think this is different, Anne. I think that in Essex, town meeting actually votes
Yes,
for each of those reserve funds. I don't think we're talking about that with Andrea's fund. It's just part of the general expenses.
Yeah, it's a sub
So
account.
it can be used for any other expenses.
And I wouldn't carry that over year to year,
okay.
like those other accounts. It would just be for that fiscal year.
So if you don't spend all of it, it goes back to free cash.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't want that.
No, we weren't trying to create something like that.
Nobody is ever trying to create something like that.
I
It
know.
just happens.
Lots of good ideas.
Think of it this way, instead of having 12 different envelopes in each department.
Right.
There's one in Andrea's but it's not something that can carry over from year to year.
So one mechanical question, just when we get to the last 2 weeks of the year and we're able to do fund transfers within departments, does this limit your ability to do that? Because
Hopefully it will decrease the number that have to be.
That's the idea.
Good. There were a lot this year.
Yes.
Last 2 years.
Okay, the first thing that we mentioned needing to take a good look at was general government.
And I think Andrea just explained that.
Okay,
She said it was, would you say again?
The majority of it is health insurance and pension, legal professional services.
Sorry, what page you on?
I'm at 19 at this point. Although,
I'm sorry, what page are you on?
We should jump to the next
Okay.
general area.
I'm sorry, back on 17, just for a second, I was
Sure.
on.
I was on 7.
No,
Yeah.
17.
It's a big jump.
17, the HR costs, professional services, there's a big jump there.
What page are we
That's a
in?
shared,
this is 17.
I'm looking at 17, there was a big jump there in cost, and that's for a resource we're supposed to be sharing with Hamilton, so I was just wondering what happened there.
Explain that one.
Yeah. I think
Yes.
I know, but I'd rather you, go ahead.
Sure. So we have the agreement with Hamilton, and it's a calculation that we've agreed on, and in years past, we had always budgeted for 10 hours, and then one year we tried to reduce it to 8, but it ended up being not agreed upon, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it was timing or something like that, and so it stayed at 10. And so we've consistently overspent that line item. And so this year I was bumped it up to be what I expect it to be for FY 27.
Because we spent 42.5 and
Okay.
20.
It's
Exactly.
not that we're
Yeah.
it's not that we're getting more hours or more services, we're trying to right size the budget for
Got it.
what was
Okay.
previously underfunded.
Exactly,
Okay.
yes. Thank you.
All right. So the other thing, just generally, on page 18, where, you have the revenue detail for only the past year. The reason I made my request for the earlier, activity-based costing view is we don't have a trend, a detailed trend for the revenue. We have detailed trending for the expenses, but we only have the trending of the revenue at a summary level. So it's not real helpful if we're trying to answer some of these questions. So just a thought that, it'd be nice to have apples to apples. Because trends are usually more important.
We just got this page added in last year.
Yeah, it was a good ad.
Page.
It was a good ad. It's just, it would be nice if it had the trends, because that's.
Is there anything else in general government that we need to talk about? Changes
Looking
up to 19.
Well, the page 23.
23.
What's town clerk? Isn't that part of
Well,
general
town
government,
clerk.
or is that different?
For the council.
Yeah.
significant increase on the town clerk due to the elections that we'll have in the upcoming year. So I believe the town clerk has attempted to budget according to the number of elections in that fiscal year.
Right.
Yeah, we're
I
likely
was,
to.
actually, I was looking at the parking clerk, those sticks.
So again, I think it would be helpful to have
Yeah.
a view on parking. We already talked
Yeah.
about that. The other note I had on town clerk was also we're not collecting any fees for the notary, and I don't know if there's other optional services, but we added half a head. And we should offset that head count with fees for those optional services.
I think the notary service is very very valuable service.
It
to the
is, but I think
residents, and
people
I'm
should
not
pay for
sure charging for it's appropriate.
Oh,
We added head count.
well, the school building committee is talking, or the school, yeah.
School committee.
The superintendent said that she would like to have a separate town meeting to vote on the school building program.
What you're gonna pay for?
Good question.
So
Absolutely.
that would be probably 2 fall town meetings for a total of 3.
Why would
Why?
we have a separate? That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Because they
struggling.
wanted to have a focus on that problem alone, because it's a huge number. And it's a huge change. And their consultants recommend that the town vote on, have a meeting just to consider that. So that the people don't get snag-ups.
I think she was also trying to schedule it in a way that both towns would have a special town meeting just for the schools, and then there would be a ballot question with the state elections.
The
Now,
two
we
town,
don't normally do that.
2 town meetings would be 1 day apart, and then there would be a ballot, however long.
In the November,
so
So
that
what would
they
the
both-
timing be for the special town? meeting?
October, I think.
Yes,
This is for the building project or for?
yes.
Yeah,
Just for the building.
To Brian's point, if they pay for it, I
But-
mean, we're not covering it out of our, why would we cover that?
Andy, we talked a little bit about this at the
Yeah.
finance committee meeting.
I'm sorry, I couldn't think.
The notes I had on the preliminary schedule when the schematic design was gonna be done, which was ultimately submitted to the state. I had recorded that was gonna be October next year. So,
and the schematic, I think the schematic has to be approved by the state before we can vote on it. Before we know what the cost is
The MSBA is gonna have to approve it,
Mhm.
first, before we
Timing
vote.
wouldn't work
before
out.
you even know what you're doing.
Right.
so
Okay.
we were thinking that they weren't even gonna be ready for November.
But
But-
I was at the presentation at the memorial school,
Okay.
and those were the dates that were given. I think I need to make a note to go back and validate.
And I can confirm from my side.
You have a more detailed, but I would not like to find myself in October and there's nothing ready and we have to have a town meeting and vote before everybody knows what's going on.
There's one thing to have a special town meeting because the timing,
Yeah,
right.
sort of compels us to do that, but otherwise spending that money seems, like we digested the memorial project pretty well within a regular town meeting, I thought.
I
Well,
feel like
most
they're trying
towns
to- they're
do.
Trying to
I
bifurcate
mean-
the expenses, so you don't get.
no, they're trying to attract a welcome audience. a
Right.
welcome-
Well, that's-
Exactly.
Well, not
Exactly right.
by moving all the other budget items. Okay, no one's gonna sit there and say, well, we just, now you're asking for this, is after we've already approved
Right.
$30 million somewhere else.
Yeah.
This is gamesmanship.
Yes, yeah,
Maybe we don't want to play the game.
right.
Well, that's a question. Are we in the business of arranging the voting calendar either for or against any particular issue or item that might be on the vote? And is that our job?
No.
Even though I don't, whether they have a plus or they vote for it or they don't vote for it. I mean, I don't know much about it myself, but
If they're gonna have the schematics in October, no one has an opportunity to review them.
Yeah.
All right. And how
Including
long
the
would it
state.
take to vet the, even the
Right.
rotunda.
It sounds like it's a spring town meeting the following
Yeah.
year.
They have a drop dead, I think, of August of 27.
There is a timing mechanism with the MSBA certainly, so that does come into it. And that could, if they're not ready in November, but April's too late, that could compel us to go for something in between.
But what is,
Get
what
ready.
is the holdup on the schematic?
I think they want 2 whacks at the pie.
I don't think there's a holdup on schematics. It's just, this is how the schedule is playing out.
Well, anyways, I think Ann's point is, should we be budgeting for an additional fall town meeting? And it sounds like there's a lot of other questions.
There are a lot of questions. I think we should budget for that. Because as long as it happens before the 1st of July, it's in this next fiscal year. And
I don't think we should budget for it.
Back to the original
What
question,
is-
why wouldn't we ask the school to pay for it?
That's what I'm saying. Why wouldn't,
If they're gonna do it both towns.
they can put it in their budget.
And we'll end up paying for it anyway.
right.
No.
But
It's not on our operational budget.
Sure. Yeah, it will be. Go to one.
But it can come through the thing.
We'll pay more.
It is to, I mean, I don't think we should be budgeting for things we don't know whether
No,
they'll
exactly,
occur
no.
or not.
But also, I think that,
All right, we got it.
I think that a fall town meeting, for our purposes, is included in this budget. And I think that we can make a decision as to whether we want
Separate.
to do them together.
Because at this point, we have no idea if there's anything going on the fall.
Yeah, we don't know.
I shouldn't even think about what's going to
We
be.
didn't even have an option.
What would be the difference in cost? Like, so they wanna skip a night, which I don't really
You
understand,
can't
but
get this one. You'll get the-
I had a
what would be the difference in cost of doing an extra night at town meeting instead of skipping a night? And what is the idea behind skipping a night?
I don't think it's.
But you have to skip a night because there's only one building committee and there's only one superintendent. You can't be in 2 places at once.
It was gonna be
Essex-
once in
Essex
Essex.
Right, but we're gonna have our town meeting, then we're gonna skip a night, and then we're gonna do this.
No. No,
No,
Oh.
so they're just saying that they would like us, potentially would like a special town meeting in the fall that only had the school item on the warrant. Separate from any other potential fall town meeting topics that we might want to do on our own, whether that be a day apart, a month apart, that's not really what they're getting into.
Okay.
But I think that that's for us to evaluate and make that decision.
I agree with Sarah. It's not something, I don't think we're budgeting for 2 town meetings. That makes sense. And if we have to have a third for some reason, FinCom has their reserve. They
We have
could-
the reserve, we can.
Or just ask the schools to
School,
pay for it.
we
There's
could-
options.
combine them.
Did we budget for a town meeting in the fall, this current budget,
yes,
which, we are not having?
right, so we'll go into
So-
free cash at the end of the year.
Correct. Okay.
All $3,000 worth.
I'll live it up.
What's the number?
It's around 3,000.
3,000?
We're arguing about $3,000. Let's just move on.
Page are we on now, Ann? I'm sorry, I lost. We passed town clerk. Are we done with the town clerk?
I think we're done with it. It's unless anybody has anything on town clerk.
I guess just the fees and fines here, are these all state regulated or do we set any of these?
I believe we just set some of them.
That
I
would be
can
another
break
thing.
that out.
That would be another thing to take a look at, anything that's not regulated by the state. When's the last time we checked the fees? It's 20 years old, maybe we gotta take a look at it.
So we've got the page of fees, and the next is 25, which is finance and accounting. Anything on the assessor? Treasurer collector?
Why was there a difference in the salaries requested and recommended?
The assessor.
Yeah, for the assessor.
It was a request for a large increase that we didn't feel we could accommodate this. time.
Good answer.
Treasurer collector? Okay. Land use.
So in terms of the land management consolidation, you know, that, those responsibilities, is that working out? And I guess not clear on what their responsibilities are beyond like planning board, ZBA. It seems like there's a lot of,
Concom.
board, yeah, Concom board support as opposed to any other land related items that would be part of this responsibility. So for example, the DPW budget has some stuff in there. There's tree maintenance, there's other things related to land, not infrastructure.
This says 25,000 for professional service.
So I'm just wondering what, you know, is there anything left in the DPW budget or other budgets that should be under here? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know. Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
None that come to mind.
We got a recommendation that the building inspector be in land management.
You know, so it's something that we can continue to
Okay,
talk about. I think that land management is pretty diverse as it is. There's a lot to manage there right now.
Mhm.
It really hasn't even had the opportunity to
Right.
flourish because the previous clerk, we had a transition
Mhm.
with the previous clerk, so it hasn't really had an opportunity to kind of get a grip of everything that has fallen under the new
Okay, that's fair.
organization of itself. I also think there's value to having inspectional services under assessor so that we can make sure that we're collecting all that new growth.
Mhm.
But there could be alternatives that we could look
It
at.
makes sense to, you know, you've bitten off a chunk of work. Make sure it's working before you tinker with it, but.
So just on that, having the building inspector move to the assessor's office, that's being considered, but has not been implemented.
That's where it is now.
Oh, it is, okay.
That's where it is now.
That's so, okay.
I think at one point there was a discussion about potentially moving inspectional services to land management.
I see, okay, thank you.
That was part of the
So again, the way it's broken out, it's a little difficult
team that
to
was sold.
separate out, like on page 26, the assessor's office is the building inspector. I thought I saw it under DPW, so. Is the building inspector's salary on page 26 under salaries area, or is the building inspector's salary still under DPW?
It's not deep.
It's,
I'm sorry, wherever it
It's
is,
a step.
Public-
public
Under public
safety,
safety.
public safety, okay, so. Why?
Building inspector is under public safety?
What?
Yeah, so
Inherited
there's a lot of, a
Stuff,
lot of changes I would make.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to shock the system
wrong.
right out of the gate, but there's, you know, even there was some reorg in finance too. And those are still kind of separated within the budget, so I wouldn't mind reorganizing the structure of the budget to reflect what's actually occurring.
I think it should be, how you
For
gonna hold
next
people
year.
accountable, you know.
I think we should wait till next year.
um,
I think we need to get through this budget cycle
Okay.
without making a lot of changes, or we're never gonna get through the cycle.
Right.
it gets very confusing when you start merging stuff.
I agree.
When you look at those summary lines, you'll see a significant decrease in one department and a significant increase in another, and you just shifted one to the other. And so I didn't wanna
Okay. Yeah.
overcomplicate it.
All right, but then we really should, the budget should align for the next cycle. When you do a restructuring, you gotta align your
I
budget.
agree. We had that conversation.
Right.
And I'm assuming you're looking at the land management fees.
Actually, it's a good, land management is kind of a good example of how the budget was restructured to roll everything in under. Then it was kind of difficult to look back to see those trends. Because of
It's
that.
always true with a restructuring. It's painful. You just get at some point rip the band
Yeah, yeah.
But
On page 36. Town hall.
Electricity.
the electricity costs went up. This is when I was starting to question, is this why, subsidizing the electricity use outside?
Okay.
I don't know what other reason there is for just the price of electricity.
The friendship tree.
Yeah.
I
So
think
does
it's
the,
because the actual in 2025 was 87,500. And we budgeted 45,000.
Again, the question is though, what are we paying for?
So is this street lights?
I think
Streetlights are elsewhere.
No, streetlights are separate.
Town hall.
This is- yeah.
This is the new,
Town
it's
hall.
the new heating
It's
system.
all this electric.
Yep, it's all the new heating system.
It was electric before.
there's heat pumps,
it's-
there's the
it's the-
electrical charging.
But it wasn't heated to 80 degrees before.
Well, as town fathers get older. All right. Heating is very important. You can ask John.
Get a sweater. I always come with a sweater to these meetings.
That's a cold corner right there.
Pension, we don't have any choice. They send us a bill, we pay it. We're counting. And I think everybody knows about insurance.
And the insurance number, we should get something good in February, is that right?
Usually they announce something at the MMA conference in January, but final numbers to individual communities is right around. It's our Valentine's Day gift.
Okay.
typically.
You said something good, that's a poor choice of words.
Um. Moving on 39, we start with police, part of the public safety questions.
So some of the questions that I had on these is I saw notations in Parks and Rec about this being a July 4th year and the police costs were whatever they were, and I wasn't sure if the police increase was due to the July 4th activity or whether or not that's in the Parks and Rec
I
budget.
think
In
it's
the
in
park
Parks and Rec.
budget.
Oh, it
Put
is
under
in the
4th of July.
Okay, so that's, police is in that line. Okay, so why is the police? Then I guess I have questions.
Well, what was the cost of, what's the cost of living increase in the police this contract year?
3%.
3, okay.
Okay. Is there anything other than the cost of living increase that's in the contractual requirement?
There's 2 degrees that were earned.
Okay.
So that affects the career incentive, which is now in the patrolman line.
Okay.
instead of in the career incentive line.
Okay. And then, yeah, active parking, we already talked about that parking. Oh, I know, that's one of the things. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just on police, I noticed the training has gone down. That doesn't, each year, it seems like training and the associated comp for training off-site in public safety just tends to kind of always go up. Is there a reason big reason, or is this just a?
Well, not really. I think this year, if I recall from our discussions with Todd and Mark, A lot of like training is being brought, like the fire department has a lot of training, like medic training, EMT training and stuff like that, that we can do over there. So they won't have that increased cost for the payroll.
Well, training cost is higher. They're recommending higher still.
$500.
The question I had was on the fire and the police, there's a new radio technician line item. I was curious about that. And then on the dues and subscriptions are quite healthy. And we didn't, just wondering if there's something specific there on the dues and subscriptions and the radio technician.
Yeah, both of those, I had the same ones. Question mark.
The dues and subscriptions went up because of the new cost for the request FOIA, the public records request. We have the public safety version of that for them. It just has to be separate from the town because of all the confidentiality and other requirements.
Yeah, I'm sorry, is it software or manual effort?
Software, it's a software subscription. And then there's another software subscription that called Blue Voice, which is like an
Oh, yeah.
AI assist. So that's the cost that's in the.
So that's so, to me, it's interesting that we're not capturing the technology separately. Dues and subscriptions is usually a professional association and stuff. Your IT costs, yes, they are subscription based, but you really should be tracking those separately because you want to understand the technology you're investing in. Is it, getting what you want it to get? It really, in my opinion, should not be mingled with dues and subscriptions. Those are typically professional associations and, go to a conference or whatever, but not IT costs.
So what's this radio technician thing?
That, I recall from my notes, well, based on my memory right now for that line is, there's like a lot of like radio equipment that is not part of the regional 911 consortium, and so they don't cover that. They cover the radios that belong to the regional dispatch. So we've encountered a lot of costs associated with that.
So when we get into detail on the budget, we're
Yeah,
gonna want
like what?
information. on
Yes, you are.
Why do we need it?
Why do we need that stuff at all?
Need it? Do we really need it this year? All that.
Anything on animal control? Next up is fire.
Just on the revenue for police, again, is there anything regarding licenses of those? Those are state regulated, right?
Okay.
I think almost all of those are state
Yeah,
regulated.
got it. Okay.
So fire, the significant changes in salaries here is, you recall that last year there was a deputy chief position added, but it was for the final quarter of last year. So,
This year.
This year.
I'm sorry, for the current fiscal year. So
This is fully.
So this is fully loaded. We also, with the addition of the SAFER grant, we have we own 25% of that cost. So it's 4 new firefighters. We have in year 1 the obligation to pay for 25%. So one of those full-time firefighters. SAFER grant requires that we maintain a staff count of 21. So what will actually be a staff count of 22, or what you'll see in the town administrator recommended budget, and Chief McNeely's on the call here, is what we did was, come January of the next fiscal year, we expect a lieutenant to retire. With the lieutenant retiring and then promotion within, a firefighter position will not be backfilled, but it's only for 6 months of the fiscal year. So it's kind of a multi-layered.
So that all makes sense, but this is one of the reasons why we need a headcount chart.
Yeah, and
Part
I
of the
think
budgets.
this needs further
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah.
Because I think there's the opportunity to perhaps have deputy chief from within and not fill that position and leave the number of positions at 21 as was submitted in the SAFER grant. I think that needs to be looked at.
We do need to look at that, and I did not, it didn't register with me that when we accepted the SAFER grant, we were committing to a particular headcount for a particular, how many years?
3-year period.
Okay, because we specifically have kept the fire headcount down because we wanted the call firefighter program beefed up. It's been very successful. But and my understanding, we had no commitment to fully staff the firefighters, for the 2 in, 2 out, or whatever the, the regulation or desire is with just full-time firefighters. We were beefing up the call force to make sure that the staffing is appropriate. So I feel like I personally have lost track of that a little bit. And I think we need to your point, Sarah, we need to really take a hard look at that.
So my understanding is that, there's a potential to capture additional revenue
Mhm.
through our ambulance service. But in order to capture that, we have to have 4 firefighters on a shift. The SAFER grant allows us to get to that point with only 25% of the cost. So that for the next 3 years, we can see if what the cost benefit analysis of that is.
As long as no one comes looking for a 3rd ambulance.
Well,
You're talking staffing, right?
I think when we approved the deputy chief, that was long before we considered bringing 4 new firefighters.
Correct, correct.
So it's a different discussion.
It is a different discussion. Yeah.
It is, but
Probably not for tonight.
Right, not for tonight, but it's a deep dive. work.
Yeah.
But 2 points, I think, just for tonight. We talk about revenue with ambulance, and it's really about reducing loss.
Yeah.
The ambulance is not a moneymaker. Nobody's putting net income into free cash from ambulance. So I think it's a terminology issue that we just need to really understand. The second thing that I just heard, but haven't heard before, is that we are required to have 21. When I hear required in 21, I immediately think overtime. If we are required to maintain a team of 21, that means the overtime denominator has gotten bigger. And I think we're just going to want to watch that because, as you can see in prior
Well,
years,
it's a-
we have had.
Thing of 21, not 21 on duty,
Correct.
which is different.
Yeah.
But the staffing of 4 and 4 means we just need to watch
Right.
overtime because we have had big overtime numbers in the past. As we roll to the end of the year, we're scrambling to figure out how to cover overtime in the last 2 weeks of the fiscal year. So it's just kind of to make sure we keep an eye on that or we plan around that. That's all.
Fire expenses.
New professional services line item, question on that. More tools, more expense, those costs seem to go up every year, stuff to look at.
Does this budget include suits and everything for new fire?
I'll double check. I know he added 9,000 at the bottom for new
PPE.
That's
But he also-
PFAS free. That's different. That's like replacing everyone.
Not everyone's. It's gonna be on a rotating thing, but he does have some included in equipment as well.
Okay.
So the increased headcount is driving up expense.
I
costs
don't know
for-
if it's
for
in here
fire.
or not. That's what I'm
Yeah,
asking.
and so another reason why we have to keep an eye on that.
And I correct that each of their own turnout gear, they don't share.
No, they don't.
correct.
Right, yeah.
But I'd
It'll be
have
this
to
year's
ask the
expense.
chief to ask how he accounted for that.
I was gonna say, I think, I mean, since they have to be hired by March. So it'll be this year's expense, FY 26 expense.
He's coming.
Deep dive. Okay. So on the fire revenue, we just upped the fees, I recall, and some of the permits or inspections, again, that's why it'd be really nice to have a trend with the detail to see, you know, what is that getting us?
Harbor,
Yeah. Jay said it's positive. There's, but I'll get you the numbers. So you
Yeah, I mean, like I said, just generally, so that.
Harbor,
I guess we said no to the boats.
that's capital and we're not gonna get to
Okay,
capital.
okay. I'm sure this have an expense for.
Yeah, we went through the harbor master's budget at length with the harbor master. There was a request for additional funds to increase services or hours on the launch,
Dock.
on the dock. But, you know, after going through the numbers and looking at the revenues, Kathy, it's not something that we are able to add into this budget or into my budget. So that green, what's in green though, was that in not accommodating the request, I actually made a more negative impact, as if the request was never made. I actually created a decrease to the harbor budget, so after going through with Brian, we reloaded that in, so my budget has just an increase of $329 in harbor master salaries compared to last year. And then on the launch, you'll see a reduction. That is just right sizing the budget. That's not a reduction in services, it's just right sizing the budget for what has been spent.
Okay. That's public safety. Didn't have any concern. We talked about the building department, but. And. That's, now we're on page 52. DPW highway. DPW highway going once.
So just, yeah, one question, sorry. Excuse me. Had a question on, we were talking about training earlier. And do these people ever receive any training? Because that line item was a little disappointing. I would say the actuals.
253.
Are we not training these people or the cost just covered
$5,000
differently?
budget.
You know, we have Jody Morse here from Friends of Trees. We have a meeting with Chuck on Thursday on the tree policy and stuff like that. We're gonna be talking to him about training. But I just was curious, are these people?
I think that training is mostly, or those funds are mostly for training at the department head level or higher level. And they have not had the time to be able to go to those types of things in the past few years. So I did reduce it.
Yeah.
Slightly. But I want to encourage
Right.
that they go to those things.
My
So
note here, it's disappointing.
that it has been spent
That has
more.
not, that we haven't spent anything
Yeah.
to train folks. That
Yeah.
in 3 years. I mean, that's disappointing. So but we don't have the actual for this year. So again, it's hard to see.
I think also the last couple of years, Maya, our insurance carrier, offers a lot of training and we've been taking advantage of that. They're really great trainings and we also get a premium reduction.
They're what? I'm sorry.
A premium reduction.
Okay.
Based on like, you know, attendance and things like that. So
So
we
is
really
the
just kind of
DPW
adhere
able
to
to take
that.
advantage of that?
Yeah,
Are they taking advantage?
they are.
Good. Okay. So that's
Like-
great. Excellent.
Yeah.
I think it would be helpful to have a breakdown of the management salaries between the various subsections of the DPW.
Yes, I know. I owe you that. I was
Okay.
pasting in this. I just have time to do that.
Okay,
So I have it on my list. Thank you, Sarah.
Snow removal?
They did the sidewalks.
Yes,
Not mine. I'll go check again when I get home.
okay. Street.
Go, I'll tell you what, why don't you check on Wednesday?
Right.
28 degrees.
For Friday.
Yeah.
Friday's supposed to be 50.
Street lighting.
Is snow removal done in-house or is it done by contractor?
Both.
Okay.
We do have some contractors. Okay.
Yeah, there's a line for hired equipment at 25,000.
I see. Okay.
Those the guys that are parked on the site.
This is like the one budget item that I think you can adjust,
Right.
right? That we can roll over, so it doesn't.
Oh.
Go
go
over budget.
We have a crazy snow year. Rolls into a 3-year average, I believe.
No, the maximum we can, what we budget is based on the 5-year average.
Right.
We can't go
Okay.
below it, right?
Well, I think we can.
You
but-
can.
Jumping through
You have
hoops.
to make your
I think
case.
we can, but.
Is that a rule?
It's like a DOR
Go ahead.
requirement. Yeah, it's a DOR requirement. I have to submit a separate report every year on just the snow and ice budget. And they look at that very closely and, they don't want
Yeah,
you
you're seeing it, so.
charging like, $1 million in your snow and ice budget, because obviously you're overcharging taxpayers, but you also don't want to under and then get in trouble at the end of the year either. So they really take a hard look at that. So it's, if we want to say we want to increase it, but our average only shows that we've spent so much, they're gonna be like, why? The crystal ball, if you know what the snow is gonna be next year and things like that. So even 1 year bump, they might not consider that.
And if we overspend the budget, we can pay for it in the next fiscal year. Can it go more than one fiscal year?
It can, but we get dinged twice. So if we don't come up with any other funds to cover that deficit in snow and ice in the current fiscal year of the deficit, we get dinged on free cash, so they reduce our free cash by that deficit amount, and we have to raise it on the tax recap. That's why you try and find the money.
Street lighting?
It was the actuals were pretty high in 2025. For some reason, is that an aberration and comfortable with the budget we have?
We're getting there. We had, I don't know if you guys recall, we had an agreement with solar company. So that agreement, the percentages were off, so it was creating significant credits in our national grid bills. And so like our year to year is a little hard to average, I guess you'd say. Because the Happy Hollow would be a couple months behind, National Grid would be a couple months ahead.
It used to be a lot higher. I mean, like years ago, it was 5 times this number for street lights. I mean, I think
Paying National Grid.
paying National Grid, and then we didn't have
For all of
LED lights and all the other things. Yeah. Good.
I think we've talked about sanitation.
Yes, we have.
Facilities, any?
Same thing on the revenues. When's the last time we took a look at it?
But I just have a quick, why is the fire department building maintenance under the DPW facilities?
All the departments, all the buildings
Yeah,
are
all the
supposed to.
buildings are.
So they all just, this is where it all ends up.
There's like a small lines of building maintenance and like, library and fire and things like that, for like small things, but for like the general maintenance of like generators and boiler things, maintenance and like other stuff like that, it's just was easier to have under DPW because they schedule all of it for all of the buildings. And so it comes in on one bill and
So the police department would fall in with town hall because they're here.
But when I looked at the library budget, it also seemed like there was a building maintenance under the library. budget.
Yeah,
I
what's-
didn't understand why it was there twice.
what's that?
Same with like the fire department, they have like a small amount, and that's for like, I don't know, they need like.
It was like $1,000 or something. It wasn't too much.
This, the state library group has some sort of a rule about the increase in the percentage that you have to have in order to be
Maintain.
That's actually why,
credited or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's why, that's actually why.
So I'm wondering why it was yanked out there, because they want as much money on there so they can show that they're spending money on libraries.
Because there's 15,000
So the-
in maintenance facilities in the library budget.
What page is that,
That's
sir?
62.
And
And I
you
think that should
index
all
would
be in the
useful?
facilities budget.
Maintenance.
Unless I'm misreading it. 15,047 in the maintenance
And it's
facilities.
still there.
Yeah, I think that should
It
be
didn't get
eliminated.
reduced.
You can increase it in the DPW facilities line if you want, but that just seems duplicative.
On the other hand, the maintenance of the library has been a problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think she's suggesting moving it to DPW, not reducing the
Right.
cost.
Oh, that goes.
Getting it into DPW so that there's responsibility.
Okay,
That's all.
were you saying that somehow?
Maintenance / facilities,
Page 62.
right under the librarian.
Under salaries,
oh,
maintenance
Is
facilities.
that the,
Oh,
is that
that's
custodian?
But
the
that's,
custodian salary.
Does he mow the lawn too?
Oh, they're using the town
Ah,
custodian and
it-
that's a charge through. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
shifted.
Yeah,
I didn't look at the header. Thank you.
So there was some additional, while we're on library, there was some additional requested salary that had no reason. It just was, we want $8,000 more. You recommended we don't do that, which is very nice.
that's,
What were they asking?
that's Saturday hours.
Yeah, it's mostly to be able to be open more on the weekends, have more weekend hours, especially I think in the summertime.
you have more full-time staff.
We've been
And,
going through
During
this
that
for
time.
years.
and then again, it's not that I'm not supportive of that desire, it's just given the larger picture of our challenges, I don't think we have the ability to do it this year.
No, but they, one question I had is, isn't there a nonprofit that supports them as well?
Yeah.
And so those revenues are not reflected here because they're not town.
They're not town.
Field.
I'm sorry, what?
With check when Winthrop Field's coming.
You mean the Clara Winthrop?
No, Dakota Winthrop, yeah, that's.
Yeah,
Is that
trust fund.
Is that reflected in here?
No, it is not. That's a trust fund revenue, not general fund revenue.
Okay, so when services that we have are supported by nonprofits like Friends of COA or
Friends
Friends
of
of
the
the Library, none of that revenue is reflected here.
And the expenses of it. They're covering things that are not in the budget.
They're covering things that are not in the budget. Thank you.
So actually, to your point, back to facilities, library building maintenance
Is there?
is there because to maintain accreditation, they have to spend about 19% of their total expenditures in a given year on materials. So any increase in salary or other non-material expenses would have that ripple effect.
Drives that up.
It drives that up. However, it is actually the formula is actually based on what's expended, not what's appropriated. And they do have alternative funding sources from the state that they spend on materials to supplement that requirement. So I don't think the town has funded the materials at 19% historically, although they've expended 19% of their total expenditure on materials and maintain that accreditation.
It's 104,000.
So just to understand that a little clearly,
Books and
There's
magazines.
104,000 in the budget. Presumably that's coming from taxation.
Mhm.
And if they have alternative sources of revenue, is that being added above and beyond, or is that offsetting that 104,000? And that's dropping to free cash as a savings and expenses at the end.
I think it's being added above and beyond, but I don't think that there's, I mean, I don't know if there's savings here at the end of the year that drops to free cash, and if they're gonna look bad.
It might be, but not usually in the books.
Yeah.
Materials. Usually they always try and spend that percentage amount. And, some of the trust funds, like, yes, we get that revenue in, but it's like specifically for certain things. Like we have one trust fund that we get money in, and we use the interest income and stuff like that for just large print books. And the library can use that as part of their calculation for the books and materials.
Was the books and magazines line decreased based on the changes that were made in the budget? Can we look at that? Because we took out 8,700, looks like we took out another 4,000. I don't know, but it looks like there's adjustments and we need to make sure that they were netted out before that 19% calculation was made.
What is the total budget for the library? Not just what's in our taxation budget, but what do they spend?
Probably, like, including the general fund
Oh, she's inside of that.
outside of that.
Well, we
So we have the state aid and their trust funds,
I
so.
mean, they have to submit a report in order to maintain their accreditation where they show what their total expenditures was and what that was on material. So there's a report that is available that we can pull to show that.
Well, that was not on our list, but thank you for the library. Parks and Rec.
Wait a minute,
Well,
we skipped health.
Oh, yeah, we
no,
do.
Health was not on our list.
Oh, sorry, okay, got it. Got it.
Then
Page 64. Why is there such a large increase in the program coordinator line?
Is this an organizational thing? Program coordinator has more responsibilities now. Oh,
It's not
Cheryl.
additional hours, it's increase in responsibility.
Yes,
Since Cheryl is doing.
yeah,
everything
so,
as well.
right, so Cheryl was elevated, well, took on the additional role of team leader. Some of those responsibilities then added to the program,
Mhm.
coordinator. So it's,
That's in the third line.
So Cheryl's getting the team leader stipend?
That's the third line.
second.
So that jacked up both numbers, line 2 and line 3.
Mhm.
Yep, I see.
Wow.
Okay, I think we understand first 64. 65, Singing Beach and lifeguards.
That's just like a COLA investment, right?
Yeah, I think last year we had to bump it up quite a bit in order to hire people.
Mhm.
Lifeguards, right?
Flex Point, Pearl Chapel.
Have we looked at how to get more rental out of Old Chapel?
I think it's tough, isn't it?
There was a code issue with the second means of egress, I recall.
It's a parking issue too.
Eating.
Schools.
Good thing to negotiate.
I think it was 3 days. Here.
Right.
Oh, I had a question on the Parks and Rec revenue,
We haven't done other yet.
oh, I'm sorry.
Slow down.
Sorry, I
Okay.
skipped it.
We have a big increase in Fourth of July because it's a big Fourth of July.
Right. But the police and fire are covered in here for that.
Is fire as well, or is it just police?
Says police,
Oh,
Just
sorry.
police, I believe we can cover fire in that as well.
but they didn't increase the budget to cover the police.
We increased it 13,000.
Right, but it says police estimate 24,300.
So the
Right, so-
difference is coming from donations.
No, the difference is like last year, we bumped it up to 21,072. And so that's what their estimate was for last year, the non-fireworks year. And so this year is a fireworks year, so I added 10 plus the 24,300 to get to 34,300.
Wow.
Oh, we're gonna have a fundraiser.
So it's the idea it'll sink back down to a more normal rate next time, or
Next year, Prepare your fireworks schedule.
Parks and Rec has overtime related to 4th of July. It says add staff OT costs.
That said, it's
That's
20,
the-
Oh, that's a total 60 is more if you add, okay, got it.
It's on the line.
Yep, got it. I like the fireworks. I don't care for them.
Okay, this is a great way to run a town.
So now we're on revenue.
Yeah, sorry.
I did not understand the line item, recreation parking stickers. Because we don't have special beach stickers anymore, and we have the non-resident parking up above. So I wasn't sure what recreation parking stickers was for 21,000.
Let's look into that.
It's not.
Be nice to have that all looked at, because the other thing that surprises me is if your car is not registered in Manchester and you own a property, you still get a free residence sticker.
Well, yeah.
All you have to do is show your registration.
The first
So
year
for
they-
those of us who were here part-time, that's,
So you're taxpayers.
we're taxpayers, pay the same taxes, and I was entitled to a resident parking sticker because I was here on the weekends and.
No, but you got your kids whose cars are registered in different states.
Right.
They don't pay
But it's
taxes.
for people who have multiple homeowners. Multiple homes, excuse me.
Things are ripoff.
But yeah, we could take a look at it. But it was odd because I didn't think Parks and Rec issued parking stickers, so I don't know what that is.
Taking a look at it.
I think what they do is,
Yeah.
they have the passes, or the beach passes come to.
But that's beach pass is a separate line item. I
The
see
next
that right
line
there.
item, the 217.
117,000.
I want to say that the town clerk uses one line and Park and Rec uses the other.
I'm sorry, what was it?
The town clerk posts to one account number and Park and Rec posts to the other. So you can see which department.
So depending on how the,
Look at that.
so that still doesn't make sense because we're talking about parking.
Right.
And town clerk
Well-
shouldn't be issuing non-resident parking.
No,
No, it's
but they
like,
might be posting so the the walk-on passes.
Let's just mark that as something we should look at.
these are stickers.
yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it may not be stickers.
Okay,
We mentioned debt service is. I realize there's a substantial increase, but that's not something we really change. Is there?
No, I think we asked her to give us which projects are included in this increase, so people know.
Yeah.
Okay, when we approved the project, because it would have been in a prior.
Even though the debt service will not be actually incurred until some future date.
She's got a $300,000 increase for bands. For
Right,
projects that are, instead of issuing long-term debt.
okay,
And so those were projects that were started before today.
okay,
And the issue is, which projects are they?
okay, I agree.
We approved the debt for. And did our tax rate.
They're not the capital items on our capital list.
This old
These are
stuff.
things that some other committee that I wasn't a part of agreed to.
Like maybe it was the sewer
Last year.
treatment plant
Oh, yeah.
upgrades.
Okay, oh, yeah, last year. I
Right,
was
the
here.
muffin cooker.
Yeah,
all that
right.
stuff.
I suggest that we have gone through our list. It's getting quite late. If people have concerns about the capital items, and I can understand that you might, I don't want to sit here until 10 o'clock discussing them right now. So I suggest that people submit. Copy me on it just because I'm nosy, but I would like to move on there.
I'll also just add that we still have more, I think, review to go through with the DPW director on the enterprise funds as well.
Mhm.
We kind of spent a lot of our time on general fund impacts. But we obviously want to be mindful of the enterprise of funds and how that's impacting rates.
Yep.
So we may have changes in that.
Yeah, there was no intention of solving all the problems tonight, but just raising the flags where we needed them.
So do you anticipate there will be additional changes in this budget book before we meet in January?
Yes.
Okay,
I reached IT about setting up like a folder, so I can save each of these divisions.
Yes.
So we have the like first, second, third.
great.
So I'll reach out when I have that stuff.
And at some point, if we're gonna, I don't know if we're gonna use ClearGov or not, but if we're gonna use ClearGov, then I think we need a training session.
Yeah.
True.
Yes.
I haven't seen that in the budget.
And Andrea,
Sarah,
an index to this?
when do you
Or
plan
the
to
ultimate
start
product?
your every week?
Will there be an index to tell you what page to
Defense.
go to for DPW and the like?
I should, very good. I'll look into that.
The first Thursday in January.
Second.
Now. The eighth late.
The eighth.
So we're
Yeah,
meeting
Thursday,
Thursdays this year
Oh,
Thursday,
Thursdays
the
instead of Wednesdays.
and every week starting January 8th.
Are we meeting this coming Thursday, the 18th?
Be the only
No,
one.
we are not.
Thank you.
Our next meeting is January 8th, and at that point, we will be going through the entire budget. Overview basis and identifying those areas where we want more information and setting up a schedule of which budgets we'll do each week. If that's okay.
Okay, I think
Motion to adjourn.
We have other business.
we have other business.
Just, I'm planting the seed.
Do I have a motion to adjourn the FinCom meeting?
Second, yes. Ooh.
There goes the single- yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, that was fun. Let's do it again next year.
Make sure you're invited to our meetings.
I gotta tell you, that sleep in, sleep coming up every day.
I appreciate it.
Just the first.
We're just gonna hit highlights.
Yep.
Identify where we need additional information and set the schedule for when we're gonna need.
Fine.
Just wondering.
It could be the first budget is general government, or we don't need to fund that, something like that, yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you, Andrea. Nice job.
There are changes I've done here.
She said she's.
What else we got going?
We've got liaison updates, which we can probably do briefly.
She will produce a PDF.
I did, yeah.
John, liaison updates.
Let's see.
Recording is gonna be a little bit muffled if we have some meetings going on here.
Okay.
Hi, folks.
Right, and I'm assuming she'll highlight or something to change it.
I'm still trying to get home before
I'm
10.
trying to get home at it.
Have that conversation. Get out of here.
Debbie won't be able to hear what we're doing.
John,
Yeah, so liaison updates, DPW, this is kind of a quiet time for them. They're working through, bids that are coming in for the culvert right now. And, PFAS design for, the Lincoln Street well, the design of that, they're pretty active with that. That'll probably, be finalized in January. But other than that, just steady state. Library, we spoke about that. The library had its meeting last Friday. They were concerned about these extra Saturday hours, which are not in the budget for this year. That was a major topic of discussion there. And also a little bit about the maintenance costs that we also spoke about 15 minutes or so ago. The Historic District Commission also met last week. There is a two-family house that's going to be built on Ashland Street, right next to the Greek Revival. There are two Greek Revival houses on either side, very stately houses. And on the right, after that, and just before Crocker's Boatyard is an empty lot. And it's, there's been an application for a two-family house. Ed Fleming. And it's the first building he's built. Everything else has been a restoration. So that's obviously a major structure is going for public hearing for next month, but it's something in the works. And Council on Aging met the Friends met Mary Minor today, and we sang Christmas carols. It's very nice.
All the words.
All the words. Oh, is that right? So anyway, she met probably, I don't know, there were probably about 30 folks there, and she met them all one way or another, not tested on the names, but the discussion went very well. So she gave them a kind of a flavor of how things are going to go when she starts next month. That's it.
Planning board had their public forum. I think they did a very good job presenting the different zoning possible changes. There was some public input. Three of us were there, but yeah, I think it went well. It would have been nice to see some more
people who don't, our town hall rats.
Yeah, because I think it's like everything, it's gonna come down to the end and then people are gonna have all these.
Nobody told me about that.
Right, nobody, but I mean, I don't think it's, I would say it's definitely not for lack of effort on the planning boards. And they did a great job, so. Harbor Advisory met, I didn't get to go, but I did talk to Andy. So they're starting work on revising the harbor regulations, just kind of starting that. There was some talk about the enterprise fund again, and it seems like that's coming down to kind of maybe mandate to implement something like that. That was about it there.
Parks and Rec, the basketball's up and running, Jingle Bell Walk, apparently, by some feel it was, most numbers they've had.
It was crowded.
I was on the court.
It was nicely crowded.
Being a court from Boston. And, yeah, we're meeting Wednesday night, so, at this point, so it's really not. Okay. Cheryl. Well, Santa Claus is making his phone calls to all the little kids in, Manchester, tomorrow.
Oh.
Very busy this time of year.
Senior elves.
Oh. And so those calls start at 4:30.
They follow a very strict script.
Lord. No, there's, you know, there's a list of questions, like, you know, we know everything about the kid before we make the phone call, so the top key on myself making those phone calls. So that's it for Parks and Rec, as ZBA meets on Wednesday night. Hot topic being the cargo building, of course.
Mhm.
So talking in 2 weeks on this, so we'll make those.
Okay.
A lot of end of year meetings this week, Bike and Ped on Thursday, Downtown Improvement Wednesday, and MBTA advisory boards Tuesday. Full board meets, and then on Wednesday is the passenger rail committee. So I've been listening in on some of those MBTA meetings, plan to get more involved after the first of the year and do more advocacy, especially around the climate resiliency. You know, we need a plan so the tracks aren't underwater, as well as advocating for more frequent service and a blue line connection at Wonderland. Those were kind of my top three hereabouts, but based on what I've heard and talked to people, but would welcome, you know, additional feedback after the first of the year on those. And let's see, was there anything else? I think that was it.
Talked about the school, they're still working on their budget. They had their first full budget presentation. They presented a level services budget. I think they've increased the head count by 0.3, which will replace a contracted service. So they found somebody who can take a whole position, and that will save a little bit of money. Talked about what the school building is doing, and I don't know what it is. The Board of Health met, discussed the intermunicipal agreement, and I have a copy of it and I haven't read it. We'll be talking about that on Thursday morning. And I think you've heard enough about the FinCom.
You want to know what you're from again?
So that, I think, is the liaison updates. Is there anything anyone would like to take out of the consent agenda?
Question, because some of the applications were missing their liability insurance for 2026. So I kind of sent a note to Tony and Debbie because it felt odd to approve a 2026 license when there was no insurance proof. So did we get those? It was Seabreeze, Crosby's, Legion, and Essex County Club.
We have Essex County Club and Crosby's, waiting on 3 more, but we'll likely get them. She would check.
And we approve them subject to their receiving the liability, proof of liability.
I think so.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
They all are very much understanding that if we don't receive them before the end of the calendar year, they're jeopardizing their license. So well, I'm sure we'll get them tomorrow. I feel fine approving them contingent upon receiving those
Okay, so then they won't receive the license that we're signing tonight?
until they come to.
As long as the Legion just stays in.
Anything else? Is there a move to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Um. I guess the next thing is the town administrator's report.
Really, not much other than budget. It's been constant, budget prep, for the last few weeks here. It will continue, and we're making good progress though. I did want to mention that we're going to host a Christmas tree bonfire this year. At Masco in the parking lot. The date is Friday, January 9th, with a wind and rain date of Saturday, January 10th. So obviously, if the weather isn't working out either of those days, we're not gonna do it.
So will the residents just bring their trees there or will?
No, DPW is collecting trees this year. That was already in place. So I'd like, just have DPW collect so that they can manage the size of the pile at Masco.
Have they ever done that before?
There
In
was,
Masco?
Oh, a
They
long
used to
time
have
ago.
bonfires way
Oh.
back, but it wasn't.
God,
Christmas
the
trees.
bonfire that they had when they tore up the railroad.
Yeah, and
That
all the
was amazing.
prioritize. And the
Everyone
Bill,
I've
Bill
spoken to is
Scott
so
was
excited
down
about
there
it.
spraying it with heat and oil.
They had one up by the Mac about 6-7 years ago. On the really in the quarry
yeah.
area.
Yep,
I'm just wondering, what they just burn in the parking lot?
yeah.
Not a
Yeah,
problem with the asphalt?
nope, nope. And it's actually better. It's easy to clean up,
Okay.
Right.
So we'll be publicizing that.
They had one on the beach.
Did we take our vote yet? I know there was a motion.
I think yes, we did. We took
Yeah.
Okay.
a voice vote rather than an identified.
Right. Okay,
So we'll be publicizing the details on that, and then, also, Wednesday morning, as a department head, team chemistry activity and a charitable contribution. We're going as a team to, Cape Ann Kids to do a shift at
You
the,
sorting toys?
we're sort.
I was there last Wednesday.
Yeah.
If you get a lot of boxes, it's a lot on your feet, so.
So we're going as a team, and it's a good team chemistry opportunity, but it's also good to give back this time of year too. So we'll be doing that Wednesday morning, and then we'll be back here, in the early afternoon.
Thank you
Hmm.
very much for that.
Motion to adjourn?
Second,
Cause I'm all signed up. I don't have to. Selfish bastard.
that's fine. No reason to keep you,
I'll stay.
except for the pleasure of your
Aye.
company.
And that's not that pleasurable.
No, it's not. She doesn't like you.
Now, that's why I said it,
Yeah.
yeah.
You should I?
Everybody else is ready.
I mean, she makes some good times. So she makes.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I mean, you gotta look at what you had to deal with, so.
What is this? Renewal certification. Oh, I know what this is. What's that?
AU Logic.
I think it goes, I think it goes to.
Not much.
Problem is, if you didn't get the people. that-
Okay.
Oh, my signature.
You know, that's the problem. You gotta listen.
As a
to the-
general rule, FYI.
Go,
Yep.
you're gonna have to steal them from another place. Right, otherwise, this is what you're gonna keep getting.
They look alike.
I'm sure that's not gonna happen.
Thank you. See.
Sounds like it's going to. Yeah, well,
Christmas party on Thursday?
It's a motion, but you didn't.
We didn't take a vote. All in favor? Aye.
What are we voting on?
The journey.
Going home? Aye.
Yes, Christmas party Thursday
Oh, yes.
at Bravo.
Bravo.
Be pretty sure it's, we won't, some of us won't be eating that much there.